Welcome to The Lot. Real people who took real ups. With almost 2 million people employed by the automotive retail car business, there's a good chance that someone successful you know got their start selling cars. These are their stories. Welcome to The Lot. Sponsored by AutoFi. Welcome to episode 1 of The Lot, the podcast where we talk to real people who took real ups and hear their stories about their experience in the car business. I am joined today by an incredibly special guest, someone that I have been looking forward to having this conversation with for a really long time. A person who is one of the fastest growing State Farm agents in the country, somebody that has helped multiple agents get their own agency, someone who has won every award that they possibly can with State Farm, is multiple time in the chairman's circle, wins the trips to go on vacations. And we actually went on a vacation together. Someone that is actually on the recruitment videos for State Farm. And he got to start selling cars. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the one, the only Mr. Chris Mathurin. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited. And this is something I've been thinking about for a while. I'm so glad that I get to share the stage with you, mate. So thank you so much for having me.
Dude,
man,
thank you for joining. So let's get started, man. So tell me about State Farm. Like I listed off a brief list of your accolades. Talk to me about being a State Farm agent.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, State Farm's the best kept secret out there, you know? So great company, been number one since the 1930s. Just great brand recognition. You know, you put that sign up from day one and people start walking in, you know? So that's a huge blessing right there. So great support system, you know, great brand, as I mentioned, and, you know, just get out there and get it done.
When you got started with State Farm, though, you didn't have a book of business or an assignment. You started literally with nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Literally the good song, Coming From the Bottom, Now We're Here, you know, started from nothing, you know, but bottom line is I wanted an opportunity, wanted to do something different. And I didn't even know there was another opportunity out there that you can do to start with an assignment or start with book of business, start with money coming in. I didn't know. And you know what? It didn't matter at that time because I knew whatever I had and whatever I was given, you know, I was going to go with. And I wasn't given anything. So I started from nothing and got to grow my business organically. That's right.
I remember when you first got started, right? Like when you first started, you started with nothing, and your first year, I mean, you were like getting called out by State Farm for growth and speed of growth. Tell me a little bit about that first year as an agent.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously there's a lot of flow from the car business, you know, get in there, you know, hustle as hard as you can, you know, and get it done. So I just took that mentality in the first year. And, you know, I don't really like the same, but it's true, kind of faked it till I made it. Didn't really quite know what I was doing. Look, I'm from England, got a great accent. I sound really smart, but the reality is I struggled with school like a lot of people out there. And, you know, just got in there and got it done. You know, fouling wasn't an option. You know, I got mouths to feed at home, got a beautiful family. And, you know, food stamps isn't that fun. So I was trying to get off that program as quick as possible. Right. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about it. So You got your start in the car business. So I want to rewind all the way back to how that happened. So walk me through the story of how you got started selling cars.
Yeah, so I scraped through college, okay, got my degree, which was amazing, and then started looking for a job. So you would think you got a degree, right? You automatically get a job. Incorrecto, all right? So
it's a common misconception,
yeah, absolutely.
Right?
So I started posting my resume at different places, and you know, I was in transition of a visa, being from England, so I didn't have that worker's visa. It was coming through in the mail, but I wasn't quite sure when. So a lot of people wouldn't even talk to me, you know. So you know, it really got to a point where I wasn't having any luck whatsoever. So I was like, look, before I get deported, I'll walk into a career fair and see if there's some good opportunities there. So I walked into this career fair and there was about 30 prestigious jobs there. Actually, there was 29 because the 30th it said car sales above it. So I wasn't trying to get in that, you know, the conceptions of the car business and, you know, and all that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to visit all 29 and stay as far away from the car business banner deal as possible. So I visit all 29. I'm about to go out and I feel this beam in the back of my neck and I turn around and Joe, it was you, actually. it was you. This big smile on his face, just staring at me. I think this guy had been looking at me the whole time. I was like, look, I got to go and chat to this guy. He's got a big smile, you know. So I came over to you and, well, there I go messing up things. Sorry, mate.
Oh, you're totally good.
Yeah, I kill that. So I go over to you, get to chat with you, and cut a long story short, you would explain to me that there was an opportunity that I'd never heard of before, you know, selling cars, unlimited income, and you thought I'd be great at it. You know, you boosted my confidence pretty high, and I guess from the car sales, you'd say you closed me pretty quick. And you said
it wasn't that hard of a close, right? Like when I think back to that moment, like I'm at this career fair, I have my little booth set up. I'm trying to hire salespeople, and I'm going to every place I can to find people that could make a good career in the car business. And we'd done the TV ads, the radio ads. We had, literally ran newspaper, but we were running everything, monster.com, everywhere. And I'm at these career fairs, and you're watching people kind of walk by, and I'm talking to everybody, right? You know me, like I'm saying hi, I'm high five, and I'm watching to see who has like that kind of energy, right? That spark or that thing going on. And I remember seeing you, like you're like bebopping by, like talking to everybody, and you're like avoiding looking towards my direction.
100%. 100%.
And I'm like, nah, man, that guy right there, like that's the guy. Like if I can close that guy, this whole like 4 hours of standing around collecting resumes would be worth it. And I remember like finally like getting your attention and like weaseling you into the booth to talk.
Yeah, and I think, you're right. I mean, obviously, you didn't close me that day because I remember vividly you said, hey, just come up to the dealership. Come up to the dealership and check it out. And I was like, at least I can do is come up to the dealership and check it out. And when them sliding doors open, when I got to the dealership and I walk in there, you had a water fountain in the background. But more importantly, you had these professionals walking around in these clean polos, these beautiful slacks, as one may say, and they were going somewhere with a purpose. They're walking around with a purpose. I was like, wow, that's when the deal was sealed for me. I want to be part of this. So spoke with you for a short period of time, and I was ready to start the next day, and I was like, well, what about the visa? Hey, don't worry about the visa. We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
I feel like that scares a lot of people away, right? Is they see that there may be some visa challenges. There may be something that's like outside of the normal that might just be a little bit complex or challenging. And so for you, it equaled a lot of people not giving you a shot, right?
Yeah, 100%.
For me, it was like, man, like we can figure this out. Like how hard could this be? And it turned out it wasn't that hard at all, right?
No, it wasn't. I think my visa came through about a few days later.
Yeah, right.
Got it to HR, and I was good to go. And, from your guys' standpoint, you committed and took care of that after. And I was given an opportunity, and that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, when they hear car sales or selling cars, they have these ideas, these like concepts in their head of this like just slimy, grimy thing. And for me, I feel like what I learned taking ups has been paramount in everything I've done, right? Like the first time you walk out and stick your hand out to some person you've never met before that doesn't want to talk to you and strike up a conversation and get that wall down, it teaches you something. So talk to me a little bit about like actually, so you get hired at this career fair. I talk you to come to the dealership, and then it became time to like get a little bit of training and then go take ups. Talk to me a little bit about the process of taking ups. Like, tell me about your experience selling cars.
Well, it was tough beginning, because I got through 4 years of school. I don't think I bought a textbook that 4 years. I didn't want to spend the extra $40. I kind of bobbed and weaved my way through college, right? And now you get into an opportunity, a real job, So now you got to learn the product, before you take ups and all this and all that. So I remember one of the sales managers said, "Hey, take all these brochures, put it in your back of your restroom, and read while you handle your business." And I took the brochures, put them in the restroom, but I never read the stuff. So I just jumped in head first, okay? And I got to people, and I knew that first impressions I'd learned from the car business was so important. So I'd always have a big smile on my face, have the open hand, and just kind of go from there. And just dealing with people and having multiple conversations, you start hearing the same objections come up. "Hey, I'm just looking great. Just tire kicking. That's one, or what type of tires you kicking?
Right.
Car, SUV, let me help you out." I literally had no idea about any of the products. They said, "I want to buy a Tundra." I said, "Right this way, folks." So I'll go behind the Corolla and read it. "No, that's a Corolla." Go behind the Camry. I said Camry. Like, I literally had no idea whatsoever. But what I learned pretty quick, mate, is people want to be shot straight, right? And transparent. So I knew if I could just shoot people straight, transparent, be myself, it will naturally transpire from there. And I had a lot of success with that. And then eventually I learned the product and go from there. And look, I just took what you guys taught me. The meet and greet, the interview, okay, the presentation, the razzle dazzle, and then the close. And I just stuck to that process. Whatever you guys took me, whatever you guys taught me, what I mean?
It's the same way for me. I mean, you and I were effectively trained by the same sales manager, right? Hoyt's the same guy that taught me. So,
Jerry.
Yeah, dude, listen, I'm still terrified of that man. I still will look over my shoulder if I'm like not sharking the lot or whatever. Like I still have this like tingling in the back of my neck. Like he's gonna come yell at me and blow me up.
100%.
Right? But I feel like he somehow got us to take it seriously and like to actually go out there and put the work in. And it was one of those things where the word tracks I learned, the things that I learned, it was not by somebody in a classroom like writing it on a board.
Yeah.
It was me being out there. I can't close them. I go get Jerry to TO. Jerry comes out, sits down, and I hear what he says, and I watch him go, oh, that makes sense, and they sign.
Yeah.
And then you start like picking that up, and then it becomes a part of your repertoire.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember clearly one time I had this customer, and he's very hard to close. So I went and spoke to the Zen Master, aka Jerry, and then Jerry came out and with a coffee, gave him a coffee, and they had a conversation that had nothing to do with cars. And then at the end of the conversation, Jerry slid the form and he signed it. I said, how did you do that? And at that point I didn't understand or comprehend what was going on, but it's more than just a word track, right?
Yeah.
It's a conversation, it's building a genuine relationship, and then kind of just going from there. So that was one of the many multitude of things that I picked up in the car business.
What do you think was the hardest thing for you about selling cars? Like when you look back on the time, I feel like I look back with very like nostalgia. Like I loved it. It was so much fun. But there's parts of it that were horrible. Like, what was the hardest part for you selling cars?
Honestly, mate, like one of the first things I learned in the car business is, you got this negativity, right? You got two groups of people. You got those that are going to go out there and get it done, take care of the customer, close the deal, and then you got them little wine bags in the corner, right? And sometimes it's really hard to separate that and kind of get sucked into that, you know? And so, that was a bit of a struggle sometimes. You can always find an excuse or get negative. So just staying away from them negative people, and, holding yourself accountable and staying around positive people and then having your goals to hit your goals and all that stuff. And, that's one of the biggest success and why I got to move up pretty quick is just having the right mindset,
Yeah, I think about that a lot with you specifically, Chris, right? Like I think about, I can remember times as your manager where it's so easy for like, because you have all these things outside of work, right? Like we take for granted, you have like life. And I don't know how personally, but you and Amber had a baby and she's pregnant. And now you got like another mouth. And so you got all this like life stuff going on. And then you've got like work stuff going on. And I think we all go through these cycles in selling, right? Like I remember that month that I like knocked the cover off the ball and make the fattest check ever. And then the next month it's like the 15th and I'm at 3.5 going, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Right. And and it's so easy when you're in those troughs to get caved by the cavemen, as we used to call them, right? The people that just want to sit around and piss and moan about how they're flooding the floor and there's not enough traffic. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. And it takes, I think, some discipline and and owning what you can control and going out and getting after it. And I think it takes keeping yourself around those positive people that'll build you up.
Yeah, 100%, because, you got the positive and negative as we mentioned, but you've also got that balancing act, right? You got so many different plates going at the same time. And you taught me this, and, one plate falls, the other plate falls. It's hard to kind of get back on track. But, that's why goals are so important, short-term goals and long-term goals. And, I remember one of my first months in selling cars, I was like, wow, I got an opportunity to make some good money, So, I went to Lowe's, didn't I? Jumped in my car, drove to Lowe's, and I never had anything before. I started walking around Lowe's like, that grill looks nice. Well, if I make a good commission check and buy that grill, well, that looks good over there, and I can build this out, and I can do that, and I can buy that big screen TV, And so just using those things to, motivate me and inspire me, and then go back and then, achieve that and go to that. That was pretty good,
Yeah, I think that's a thing that a lot of people miss out on, is that like that visualization or seeing what you can accomplish as a driving force to keep you grinding. Because it's a grind, right? Like I have not done a job in my life. A friend of mine taught me this, Amanda Hagee, who's one of my best friends from high school, best friends from college. Like I love Hagee. She's actually the one that painted the little kids room at the dealership. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
So she's like an artist on Broadway. Like she does sets. Yeah. She does movies. She's like a set. And that's when we were kids. That's what she wanted to be when she grew up. Right? Like that was. And there are still, she's doing her dream. She's on Broadway and on movies, painting sets, which is what she's wanted to do since she was a little girl. And there are days that she wakes up and she's like, F this, I hate this job, I'm sick of this shit, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, like, no matter what you do, it's work, right? Like it is putting in the effort and putting in the grind. And I think that for a lot of people, we lose sight of what that grind is accomplishing, right? We lose sight of why we're doing that. And I think that you always did a good job of like, some people call it lifestyle building or goal setting or whatever you want to call it, of going out and going, okay, I want this in life. Yeah. How am I going to put one foot in front of the other to get myself towards that?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, I came 4,000 miles from England. I'm not going to come over here just to be average.
Right.
You know what I mean? So every single month it was, what can I do to be better than the month before?
Yeah.
What can I do to, be more successful than the month before, whatever it is. So I was always trying to put the goal a little bit more higher. If it's get a promotion in the F&I or become a sales manager or whatnot, or get 20 cars or whatever it may be, and always trying to strive for that. And I think sports kind of helped a little bit with that too, playing a little bit of professional basketball and then high school and college, you're going to get knocked down on your butt so many different times, but the question is, you're going to get back up. I think that's the thing about the car business. What a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people come across hard things in the car business or a little bit of adversity. They're like, okay, forget this, I'm going to quit and go and do something else. No, those are the times that you can push through and make it to a higher echelon.
I think that car business taught me how to fail, right? Like, and I think you hear people talk all the time about failure, and like, in Silicon Valley, it's, you like fail greatly. Like there's all this stuff on it. Like getting your ass kicked is a part of the car business.
No,
like,
definitely.
And it happens over and over and over again where, think of the time where you've got that customer you've been working for 2 weeks and they love you and you're so close, right?
Yeah.
You're so close.
Yeah.
And then you call them and you get that we decided to buy this. And it's like heartbreaking. And you're like, it teaches you, I think, in some ways, how to deal with that adversity and how to push through if you'll accept that lesson, right?
Yeah.
Some people it cracks, right? Like there's some people that can't handle the rejection, right? Like I remember one of the first trainings we did was like, look, you're going to get told no. So we're going to practice telling each other no, right? Like you're going to get told no over and over and over and over again. Yeah. That you have to develop the thickness of skin to be able to handle that.
Well, and that's just going to prepare you for your future in all aspects of life, right? I remember clearly, one of my good mentors, Mark St. John, of course, like
my dad,
your dad, So you get to a point and you're one car away from your goal, right? And that's a big jump in pay, okay? Big jump in pay, and you're like, okay, well, I had a really good month. I'm one car away. They should probably get it for me, right? And then the response back to that is, you mean you couldn't make one more phone call?
Right.
You have all this follow-up. You couldn't make 200 more calls just to get that one car? No, the question isn't why should I give you money? The question should be, why should I give you your money?
Right.
Type deal. And that, that's a good point. That's a good way of looking at it. I could have done more. The time I took sulking not to hit that goal, I could have put into activity and production to get that one more car. And, I carry that into my business now.
Yeah.
There's always a way to look at both sides to make you better. Now, if I would have been given that bonus, what would that have taught me? Oh, it's okay to beg, borrow and plead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not going to make you better.
Amen.
And that's the beautiful thing about the car business. It's going to make you get callous on your hands, teach you how to get back up, and just an incredible foundation for me to take in my next career.
Amen. So from the selling cars, right? You kind of fast tracked into the F&I office, and I know because I was your F&I director, right?
Yeah.
And I think about goal setting. I still remember remember when I print off little stickers like SW, SW, SWN and put it in your room?
So what next?
Yeah, or
like
I tape the dime on your phone. So I think about F&I. So F&I for us, I have a very intimate perspective of F&I with you because we literally did it together for the whole time.
Oh,
right?
yeah, mate.
We had, the way that thing ran, it was like a machine.
Well-oiled machine.
It was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
You would come. I can still remember my I had these moments, these movies in my head from the lot where it's like, and there's this one where you come out and you're like, all right, mate, here's what I've got. Yeah. I've done a switch and swap. I've done a side by side. I did factory knows best. He's got a cousin that's a mechanic. I think you can get him a shade tree mechanic. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I roll in and I sit down and I'm like, hey, I'm Joe. I'm the director. I have my little intro. And it sounded like Chris said you had some questions about the vehicle service contract. Well, I don't have any questions. I just have a cousin that's a mechanic.
Yeah.
And the second he said that, I was like, Chris was so right. Yeah. And I immediately follow that word track, get to the very end and he goes, all right, that makes sense. Okay, I'll do it.
What I'll sign, yeah.
Yeah, so I come out, you go back in, and we were so dialed in that we spoke
yin and yang, isn't it?
Yeah, man, and we spoke in that language where, and I think that a lot of that was, think of all the sessions where we'd be in the room with a whiteboard, writing out closes, right, writing out the names of the closes, and then practicing those word tracks so that you could go in there because there was always that little bit of sibling rivalry, right? It was you and Mike and Smooth and everybody all kind of
great competition.
Yeah, and I feel like it pushed all of us, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the system and the process, right? You got one or two options. Are you going to follow the system and process that is taught to you, that's proven to work, or are you going to cut corners and take shortcuts? And I think the reason why we had so much success is because we did follow the beginning to the end, that flow. We was all kind of on the same page, you know?
And I feel like when people would plug into our F&I department that weren't in tune with that vibe?
Yeah, oh, definitely. No, they wouldn't last long at all. Yeah. So, that was another great learning experience. Technology changes. You're going to adapt, you're going to change, you're going to be coachable, because these things, there's a reason why they've spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars into this research to bring this in. And, if you can't adapt, you can't change, you're going to get left behind.
I still remember you and I were there on the ground when we installed the first digital menu. This is for us back in 2007.
Oh, yeah. And then we went from paper to menu.
I remember how much, I can still remember everybody. I can remember you coming out being like, oh, I hate this damn thing.
Because I made buku bucks on the paper,
and it's a switch, right? And I can remember, I don't know if it was you or Mike or one of the guys being like, oh, it crashed on me. I was like, dude, does your phone drop calls? Okay, do you throw it out the window? No, we got to get back on there because this is going to be the key to unlock us making even more money. And
and it did. All the changes that were made, was able to progress and make it through. And your pay increased because of it. Yeah. So and it was great, and the customers benefited. I mean, plain and simple. Now we didn't have a choice but to offer them everything. Yeah. You got that F&I guy or, that doesn't offer something and then something goes wrong. Well, why wasn't I offered that coverage? Yeah. You know what I mean? So that digital menu really allowed us to give a better customer experience for our customer, offer everything. Sometimes took advantage, sometimes they didn't, but if it was in my office, they took advantage.
Well, and I think, of course, I think of I also think about how one of the things that I'm really proud of, right? And there's a few things in my career I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of how in that F&I department, you also everybody supported each other. I think about when Jerry, she came back there and was spinning paper for a while, how much you coached her and trained her. And then Mike would come in and coach her and train her. Everybody was kind of working together and we had a gel. And I think that's not the most common norm, right?
No, definitely not, mate. Fast forward 8 years, I just spoke to Be Smooth yesterday.
Yeah, I spoke to him 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, I speak to Mike David all the time, doing an exceptional. Brian, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job in the insurance business, and Mike's doing a phenomenal job in the mortgage business.
I had lunch with Mike probably last week or the week before.
Yeah. So those relationships are just as strong today, if not stronger today, than what they were back then. So that's a testimony to, the people you're around in the car business. These could be lifelong relationships, and you're right. Iron sharpens iron, Joe. We was all in there to help each other, push each other, make each other better. I mean, me and Mike, as you said earlier, we went toe to toe. Mike was, Mike, we did the system and the process, but we did it differently, right? Yep. And I think it's one of the biggest things I learned early on in my career with Chris Kirby, one of the greatest right there.
One of the greats.
I mean, that guy was phenomenal. I mean, he got me excited. I was ready to rock and roll, sausage roll. But there came a point too where there's only one Chris Kirby.
Right.
You can't be Chris
Kirby. No, you got to be Chris Mathurin.
Yeah, and there's only one Mike David. There's only one Brian Smith. So we was able to take those systems and processes and put our own personality in there, be yourself, and we ran with it. And man, we had some pretty good years.
What do you feel is when you look at your time in F&I, right? What are the biggest I think of when I was selling cars, when I was on the desk, when I was in F&I.
Yeah.
To me, those are college, right? Those are the experience. Not only was it this awesome career, the stuff I learned, right? The stuff I took away from there every single day in my life I use. What do you feel for you in F&I was the when you look back, what were the lessons that you learned?
Man, I think it comes down to your why. Why are you showing up to work every day? Why are you working ding to dong? Why are you working every single Saturday and not going on vacation? And for me back then, it was my family, Joe. Yeah. I had a growing family, a beautiful wife, lovely wife that I wanted to keep happy, obviously, and that was my why, my inspiration. A good example of that happening was Cash for Clunkers, right? Cash for Clunkers, which is the craziest time of the car business. I'm sure a lot of listeners out there can remember that. Yeah. And, in F&I, a lot of pay plans go off averages. So if you do some really good deals, but you get 5 or 6 zeros in a row because they went to the bank before, you're not going to get paid that month. So you've done all this extra work and go from there. So, I want to provide for my family no matter what circumstances happen. So I made sure I was on top of my game. I was calling every single customer before they came in. Hey, we're going to our bank. Hey, don't worry about that. We've got the best rates out there. We'll take care of you. Come and visit me first. If we can't give you the best deal, we'll send you back to your bank. And just really get in the forefront. But, if I didn't have my family there to inspire me and motivate me, and that wasn't my why, I wouldn't have got to where I wanted to be.
You would have taken the easy route.
Yeah, I would have took the easy route, man. I would have cut corners. Okay, this ain't working out. Boom, shakalaka, go somewhere else. Or go back to the sales floor. So
or just wait till the customer comes in and try and fight him over the draft.
Yeah, fight him over that. And you know what? It was tough. It was a tough couple of months because I watched a lot of my peers hit a draw. After all day work, and I hit the Brinks truck as it came through the back, and then we went to the bank, and it was just, it was amazing. Great learning life lesson that I'll remember till.
If you were going to talk to somebody selling cars today, right? If you were talking to somebody on the lot, busting ups, in a dealership in America and they were like, Chris, give me some advice. Like, what's the one thing you feel like you'd tell them?
Yeah, biggest thing is just, be yourself. Like, so much has changed. I often joke around. I don't know if I can go back to the car business. I don't know if I'm as tough as what I was back then. I'm in insurance now. You don't want to buy, okay, we'll speak in 6 months. The car business is different, So, just with all the technology out there, my biggest advice is just, be yourself, be genuine, be yourself, because the customer today is so much more intelligent and smarter than what the customer was, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I think people realize if you're being genuine and being yourself, and I think that can overcome a lot of, stigma about, the auto industry. So be yourself, and also, use your passion.
Yeah.
You got to be passionate about what you do. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, mate, go and work at Mackie D's, mate. You know what I mean?
Man,
you got, passion helps you through, Joe.
I think, like for me, what fueled my passion a lot of times was the competitiveness, right? Like when I was selling cars, it was like me and Franco going neck and neck, and like I getting by a half a
Franco.
unit, right? Like I'm like, yeah, Franco. A big shout out to Franco Munoz down in San Antonio.
Yeah,
like us like being neck and neck, and he's in used cars, I'm in new cars, but we're still like neck and neck and neck and neck. And so for me, like that was always fire. Or like it was. I think that, and I also think that there's a lot of the fundamentals that we applied, that I saw you apply on the showroom, right, are still the fundamentals, and they're those little extras. Like you just talked about on F&I deals coming in, getting in front of a deposit before they show up to help that customer, so you've got a relationship when they show up. There's a chance that customer shows up and you can't help them, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it goes to somebody else in the department, but by reaching out and setting that up, you're going that little extra mile that helps to protect your income, right? Selling cars, it's the service lane, right? Like how many times did me and you and Smooth go work the service drive and hang out in the lounge with a cup of coffee at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning because there weren't ups driving through the lot. We caught up on our follow-up, and you were going over there to go find an opportunity.
No, 100%. It's funny you bring that up. I remember that when you brought it up to us, no one had really done that in the dealership before, and there's a little friendly competition. I went to the service drive, spoke to a guy and said, hey, if we keep your payment around the same, would you like to get a new one, trade out this one? And he ended up not trading out. He kept the car, and then he purchased a brand new 4Runner. I remember that. It's amazing. But no, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think getting in front of people, it just comes down to the 80-20 rule, right? Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't have put 80% of the work up front, so it only takes 20% of the work to close. And that's another thing I tell a new salesperson. And I remember, Zach Penny. Remember Zach Penny? I remember being new on the
do I remember Zach
floor.
Penny? Zach and I played in a band together.
Yeah, Zach's a great dude. So, I talked a lot of trash coming from college, playing collegiate basketball. I said, Zach, I'll kill you on this walk around of this Prius. And he's like, okay, let's go. And so I was like, okay, well, you see these tires? He's like, you kidding me? You got a Synergy system Prius with a hybrid motor, and you're going to talk about the tires? And he just completely grilled me on the walk around, and that was a big eye opener for me. Like, not only do I need to know the product, but I need to have a process. So now I spoke with Zach, who got a process down. Okay, do an introduction. Do the test drive. Ask him, saying, if there's one thing to stop you from owning this vehicle, or the one thing, baby, on payment, so we can make it affordable for you. Is this a car you want to own? Blah blah blah. Go in. Obviously, you taught us that. Go in, sit down, do the numbers. Hey, I've got some great news. You've got a good discount up here, and go from there. So, but if you're not willing to put the 80% work up front, to interview, get to know the customer and all that, then you're going to spend 80% on the back end trying to close, and that's what people don't want to do, So then let's talk about where you're at now. So now you've got an agency. I've been to your office. Like a good neighbor.
Like a good neighbor. Right. So you get this agency. It's beautiful. I've been there. It's an incredible place. You have like 7 employees now, right? I mean, you are a business.
Yeah.
So I've met a couple of the people on your team. I mean, you're my agent, right? Like
you're one of our biggest customers. So
I know, yeah. Oh God. Anyways,
cha-ching.
Yeah, exactly. He's cashing my checks, right? Like that's what's happening. So, anyways, tell me about now in your transition of life, right? Like you're at a place now where you're helping people to path their own, like chart their own path, to find their own way. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that and where Chris is today.
Yeah, well, we're out there to help people manage against risk. I mean, it's really that simple, and there's a lot of similarities in the car business. And so, we meet with people, switch over. Everyone's got to have insurance, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to have insurance. So, we can sit here and say we're the cheapest out there and all this and all that, but the reality, there's always someone cheaper. So we're all fishing from the same pond. So it's our job to, build those relationships and grow business. So kind of mentioned earlier, started from absolutely nothing, in this insurance business. And, I just learned real quick the same thing from the car business. Shoot people straight, be yourself, be genuine, give them the options, and they're going to take advantage of it. So we started that in 2013 from nothing. Now we're over 2,000 households.
Wow.
So, it's been really good, and couldn't have done that without the team. So hired a good team. Look, made a lot of mistakes, mate. Probably went through about 35 to 40 team members since I started because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But learn from those mistakes. Got a great team together. They make me look a lot more better than what I probably am, and just growing the business one policy holder at a time.
And you've helped people become agents, right? So you have feels like a heart for helping people on the come up, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, referred some people to State Farm that've gone through the process and now agents. But more importantly, we have an agent aspirant program where, maybe someday someone may want my seat, so bring them in, show them the ropes. And sometimes it's a little bit easier. I mean, good example is, Tom Wood, local Bixby State Farm agent here. Yep. He came through my office and he came from the car business too. And he was in F&I. I spoke with him about the State Farm opportunity. I don't know, you probably don't know this, probably shouldn't tell you this, but then I went and spoke with him before I opened. He said, well, mate, he's from England too. Yeah. Well, mate,
Stoke-on-Trent.
If I can, he's from the north side, I'm from the south side a little bit better, but yeah, if I can have an opportunity like you, mate, I'll come down there, my son. So then he came over, 2-3 years, and now he's a State Farm agent doing very well for him and his family. So, there's no better feeling than helping someone else realize their dreams, start up their own business. It's really good that State Farm kind of offers that,
Yeah, man. Well, anything else that you feel like you want to say? Anything else that you feel like people listening that are working in the car business, anything else that would be beneficial for them to hear? And then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I just, you're always going to come across hard times. You're always going to come across adversity. And not really quite know where to go or what to do, or you may want to feel like quit, but those are the times to push through. You push through, you don't quit. My thing is, if you're going to quit and give up, then quit and give up when you're at the very, very top of your game.
Right.
Look, I didn't walk out the car business because I was butthurt over something or something didn't go my way. Yeah. For me, had a grown family. Kind of, ran out of options and I wanted to do something different. But you know what, man? I was at the top of the game. There was no one else around there that was putting up the numbers I was and on all the rankings and all that stuff. And I wasn't comfortable transitioning in a career unless I was at the very, very, very top. The only thing I wish I may have done before was, maybe work in the management area to lead a team. Yep. Because, if you can, there's one thing going out there and thinking you're big and bad and you're awesome. But there's only so much productivity you can get from that. But if you can lead a team and help them, even if they're performing at 50-60%, but there's 10 of them, that's going to be way better. So, just stick in there, keep pushing through, and just know when the time's going to be tough and you want to give up, those are the times you push through and you have mass success on the other end. So, especially now, right, with everything going on, recent events, COVID and all this and all that, end of the world, but there's still an opportunity out there.
There are some salespeople right now that are absolutely dominating, right? Like for me, I look at what's happening in COVID. And the opportunities in the car business are some of the best they've ever been. Yeah. And I get messages and DMs and calls and texts from people all over the country that are having some of the best months they've ever had. And they're the people that like bit down on the mouthpiece, ran into the middle of the ring and started swinging. And for me, that's what I respect more than anything, right? Is that like when stuff gets gritty and hard, do you fight or do you flee? And the fighters to me right now are the ones that are winning. Chris, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. So there's one more thing. There's one more thing. So, there's a lot of objections out there. But after this podcast, there's one objection that no one should not be able to handle, right? And it's I need to go and check on my insurance, okay? So, look, it's Chris Mathurin, State Farm, 918-893-1400 is the office number, teammathurin.com. If anyone ever says I need to check on my insurance, pick up the phone, call me, send me an email, drop me a telegram, .matrix, whatever you need to do. We're going to take the objection off the table, and we're going to lock them into such a great, cheap price. The only best place they can go is to fly to Bangladesh, India. That's the only place they'll find better deal on insurance, mate. All right. So there's my plug, Joe. I had to get it in.
Oh,
mate.
Yeah, I forgot that. So huge shout out to our special guest today, Chris Mathurin. One of my favorite people in the world. Somebody that I have had
Joe.
The incredible honor to get to work with and spent a big chunk of my career beside this guy in the fight at a dealership working deals. And I got to tell you, like, some of my favorite moments are the ones where I still remember Chris Mathurin coming down the finance hallway with a couple that I think they were in their late 80s. And they get to his office door, and his office was right across the hall from mine. And he looks at me and goes, "Welcome to my office. Would you like a water, cup of coffee, or Red Bull?" And he like locks eyes with me as he says it. And it's just one of the...
We had fun, mate.
Yeah, man, we had a great time. Dude, it was awesome having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. Really appreciate you, mate. This is great. Thank you so much, man. I feel very privileged and honored, mate. And
hey, you're guest number one, bro. Guest number one.
If you're not first, you're last, good sir.
Exactly. So welcome to The Drive, Chris Mathurin. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, brother.
The Drive. I called it The Drive. Welcome to The Lot.
There we go.
This episode of The Lot is brought to you by AutoFi. AutoFi is an e-commerce software platform that allows car buyers, for the first time, to purchase and finance a car entirely online. AutoFi's platform connects an auto dealer's customers to a network of lenders, providing a fast, mobile-first checkout experience. To schedule a demo, go to autofi.com. You've been listening to The Lot. Real stories of real people who took real ups. Join us as we continue the adventure on The Lot.